What's up, guys? Doug Polk here, and today we're going to take a look at the second episode of my new show with Joe Ingram 1, Table Talk. We're going to just jump right into it. What's up, guys? My name is Doug Polk, and welcome to Table Talk.
What's up, everybody? My name's Joe Ingram. Let's second episode this week. I want to say big thank you, big shout out, and much love to everybody who watched the first episode. We got a lot of positive feedback. We got a lot of great comments. We got a lot of suggestions. And everyone that talked about my web camera, I decided I had to step it up here for the second episode. And I had to try to get the aftermarket DSLR camera to match up with Doug's. So hopefully the picture will be a little bit better this week, and we'll be working on that for future episodes as well. So
we're going to continue to try and improve the quality in the show. Remember, out of the gate here, it's only our second episode. We hopefully have lower sound on the bells, etc. So we're going to keep making it better. But your feedback is appreciated. If you can let us know what you think so we can improve the show, definitely helps out. All right,
Doug, we love the feedback. I like it when the people get really specific with the details on things and they break all these things down. And oh man, I just love nothing more. So please get some more of that.
Definitely does not tilt Joey. On that note, let's go ahead and jump into our first story, not our top story today. Brian Hasting retires from poker in a blog post written on his website. He talks about his past, about his single biggest winning day in online poker history, and kind of like what he's been up to in the last 3 to 4, 5 years, as well as what he's looking to move into. Joey, what are your thoughts here on Brian Hasting?
Oh man, first topic, obviously we're going to get right into things. So Brian and the community haven't necessarily been on friendly terms with each other. There's been some things that happened with him over time. There's the Isildur situation. There's the Noel Hayes situation. There's maybe some ways that he handled things on Twitter during periods of time. But I think it's good for Brian. I think he talked about he's quitting poker. Well, not sure how much more he's going to play. He's going to get into the tea business, Doug. Una Tea, I believe, is the name of the company he's starting down in South Florida. I think it's really great for him. I think that the poker community, I think it's good for him to get as far away from the poker world as he possibly can.
So for those of you that don't know, the Isildur thing is Brian Hasting actually came out and said that he used shared hand histories in order to beat Isildur on the day he won $4.2 million. And the Noel Hayes thing is Hasting was actually VPNing to PokerStars on a different account here in America, both of which from the community seen in a very negative way. They're both against the rules. And then, really, I think the problem that Brian had, and look, Joey, we both know this, there were a lot of people in the high stakes world that do both those things. There are a lot. There are a lot of people.
Whoa, come on, stop it. Allegedly?
Not allegedly. There are a lot of people that do that. So the problem I think Brian had here is he looks at, the environment around him, and there are people doing these things, and then it's like, oh, it's okay to do them, does them, and then does so publicly when it's not okay to do these things. Brian made mistakes, and that's part of the reason why a lot of people don't like him. A lot of people are angry about it. That said, is it really, it's tough because on one hand, as a person that is in that arena, when I look around and see all these other people doing this, I just, man, this could have been a lot of people that are this disliked by the community if this is what makes them not like someone,
I'm not sure if that was really it. I think it's kind of a combination of things, right? So you have the Isildur situation that happens. He's poker's hero at the time. And Hastings beats him $4.2 million. There's obviously the circumstances that surrounded that situation that took place. I think from there, and also you got to take a look at a smart guy from an Ivy League school. I think it's just a really combination of things. Also, when that whole situation happened, the way he was acting a little bit on Twitter, it definitely, I don't know if everyone be treated like that, but yeah, honestly, I think it's just, do you think it's good for him to be getting out of poker? And do you think he'll find happiness in some other thing? Because I think he will, but I think poker can just be really, really toxic for certain people, and rightfully so. I think people would say, hey, he may have deserved a lot of the stuff that he got in terms of comments, but I'm just happy. I'm happy for him if he decides to actually make a break from poker.
I would say that I think in poker, more than in a lot of industries, your name is very valuable. if people can't trust you, if people don't like you, you're going to get so much more shit in poker than a lot of other places. But additionally, in gambling, your word is your bond. You know, your word is what people trust you, like what they go by. So I think transitioning for Brian will be good. I think that he'll probably enjoy it more, and hopefully we'll find something that he enjoys doing a lot more than poker, as it seemed like he was really kind of done with poker at least from that blog post.
Doug, I got some good news for you. Last week, we reported on Table Talk that David Bazoff was back in the mix after his insider trading investigation, allegations that's still ongoing. He made a bid for Amaya again, $3.65 billion at the time. We reported on how there was some sort of miscommunication, some lost in translation between one of the companies. Turns out they never heard of him. Well, he's back. He filed a new bid, $3.45 billion, and now there's only two funders. There's Head & Shoulders Global Investment Fund and Golden Way Capital. I believe both are located in Hong Kong, and I think something to note is that Head & Shoulders Global Investment Fund is also an investor in the Global Poker League with Alex Dreyfus. So it looks like Bazoff is making a bid once again to buy Amaya.
You know, it's tough because when the first bid came out, I thought that it was a very interesting move. And then when one of the companies came forward and said, "Hey, we never even talked to Bazoff. We don't even know what this is." Like the first thing we heard, we see this report that we're one of the four firms buying this, part of the taking place in this bid, yet we've never heard of it. I was like, "Oh snap, it's hitting the fan here. Like this just can't go on any longer." And it just seemed so misleading. So it's hard to trust him. It's like, was this just to drive up the stock price? And then it comes out now that there actually is a more legitimate bid being made. And now it's kind of like, okay, is this just a game we're going to play where he drives up the stock price? To my understanding, he has something around 17% of the shares of Amaya. He's just going to do this, drive up the stock price, and really help the company, I guess. Like, I'm not an expert in the stock market at all, but it seems like these bids are just a play to try and drive the price up. How serious do you think these bids actually are for him to purchase the company through this private investing?
Doug, I was wondering the same thing. So I was talking with some people who I would say know a lot more about the situation than I do, and they seem to believe that this is primarily just to raise the price up. It's not a very serious bid. There's no way it'll actually happen. And yeah, it's just, it doesn't make much sense. It seems like we're missing out on some things. I mean, if it's just this easy to drive up the price of a stock for other people that, I don't know, it just seems like it should be harder. It seems like there's something very wrong with this, but.
I guess I'm not really an expert or really knowledgeable at all on what is legal and not legal to do in the marketplace. Like, it certainly seems like you shouldn't be allowed to be like, "Oh yeah, me and these guys are going to buy this company because it's so valuable." And then people are like, "Oh wow, this is a very valuable company," with that just seems like total BS to me.
I really want to know how exactly you secure a $3.45 billion bid from a company, like what those talks are like. How do you get them to agree to it? I'd like to be a fly on the wall. I'd like to do some sort of day in the life with David Bazoff. I'd really just like to know more about how exactly an individual like him can secure $3.5 billion. It's just, the whole entire thing seems very, very sketchy, very interesting. Obviously, he's being investigated for the insider trading stuff. He's being investigated for the last bid that was placed. So moving forward, what do you think the percentages are that he's actually owning Amaya in 6 months?
What do you mean by actually owning Amaya?
Where he owns the majority of the stock. He's the guy. As something official comes out, David Bazoff and Head & Shoulders, they purchased Amaya for $3.XX billion.
Sure, but even then, like the firm would own it. He would just have whatever share of it based on. It's impossible for me to say what percentage. Like how would I even remotely guess that? Let's go ahead and move on to our next topic here: Aria private games.
Uh-oh.
Now, for those of you that are not in the know on Aria, it is a casino in Las Vegas. It has a card room that opened the casino opened 4 or 5 years ago. and since the opening has been one of the best places to play poker in Las Vegas. Certainly had some of the highest stakes games. They opened up Ivy's room, which kind of rivals Bobby's room over at Bellagio. So, they definitely have a scene there. A lot of people, I would say it's like either number 1, number 2 most active poker rooms in Las Vegas. So, they run a game, a nosebleeds game, in Ivy's room. And essentially, the way that it works, I know this because I've been there and been shot out of the game many times, 9 people or 8 people or 10 people or however many people all show up at the same time and start a game together, which totally fine, seems within the rules. But then they do not let additional people into the game. If you get your name on the list, you end up kind of being put to the side. If certain people show up, they make a seat for them. If that person leaves, they remove that seat. Other people tend to jump over other people in line. It's kind of shady who's even on the list.
What the hell?
There's not even a list on the board. They just write oh yeah, can I get in the game? Like, yeah, let me put your name down on this piece of paper. Oh yeah, you're totally that. You're on the list. There's no board. There's nothing. Okay, so you get there and you just wait and you hope. And you know what? For a while, because the stakes are big, it's a 300, 600, 1200 game. Sometimes I'm sure it alternates a bunch.
You're fired up, Doug. You're fired up right now, man.
I'm fired up because I went down there every day for like 3, 4, 5 days in a row, waited, didn't get to play. Then finally I caught my big break. The game was breaking at the end, and I played a little bit of heads up for 10 minutes. And they quit, and that was it. And I realized this is not a public fair game. And I actually have a quote here from Greg Merson. This thread on 2+2 was written by Greg Merson. He was angry. He tweeted. The initial tweet was, "Hey, is Tommy Gunn," I really don't know who that is, "going to be allowed to play in your illegal private game now?" Tweeted at JRB.
Bang, bang.
And then on 2+2, he follows it up by saying that he fully stands by his view on the private games, that these should be eliminated, and that this is a public casino. If you want to have a private game, play at somebody's house.
Doug, let me ask you a question. So Tommy Gunn is referenced to one of the most popular poker players in the world, Key Win. Let me ask you a question, Doug. Would you rather have Key Win and that very sick raccoon hat in your game, or would you rather have Greg Merson in your game? Let's be real here for a second.
I mean, obviously, the guy with the raccoon hat. I don't think there's really any other way to say that.
Right, exactly. Would you rather have Key Win in your game, or would you rather have Doug Polk in your game?
Yeah.
I mean, I think from a legal standpoint, I think this has been argued for the past couple of years since Greg Merson first initially came out with this. It's still going on, right? I mean, it's obviously not illegal, but I think it makes a lot of sense. You want to give certain types of players, you want to give them a place that they enjoy playing in. And if the game's full of Greg Mersons, of other players who maybe are the more quiet, the nitty types, the whatever types, and these people aren't going to play, and this is the way that they're going to play, I think it makes sense to be that way. Whether I agree with it, I guess not. But
I actually think it is illegal.
You think it is illegal?
Yeah,
you think a lot of things are illegal, Doug.
Well, no. I mean, at casinos, you have to allow public games. Casinos have to treat players equally. That's the way it works. So if 2 people show up and one's like, "Oh, you can play, you can't play," just because of who you are, that is not legal. So, I mean, the question is going to be, is anyone going to do anything about it? Because if you do anything about it, you get banned from MGM properties. It's going to be fun playing poker in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the question for years now. Why isn't something being done about this? And we really haven't seen anything done about it. So, I don't know. We'll kind of see how things go as 2017 progresses. So, Marty Derbyshire, for those of you that aren't on poker Twitter or go on PokerNews, you might not be too familiar with who Marty Derbyshire is. So Marty was a writer primarily for PokerNews, and let's just say he was not in the good graces of most of the poker community. I got to say that he did write the best thing ever about me, so I couldn't quite get in line with all the other poker players against him. But he recently came out. There was an article. They were debating, should poker be a profession? There was 2 sides of the debate. Marty was on the side of no, poker shouldn't be a profession. And that was really the last straw with the poker community on Twitter. A bunch of people, even Dana Negreanu chimed in. They were making all these posts. Oh my God, the guy needs to lose his job. And I think people have been saying this for a long time. And yeah, finally it turns out, now I guess PokerNews released a statement, said they released the article by mistake, said that, I guess Marty and PokerNews, they're no longer working together. And I don't know, Doug, do you think what do you think about this exactly? Because here you have a writer working for the media, voices his displeasure, voices his I don't know if it's non-liking or what, just giving an alternate take on things, trying to drum up some clicks, trying to drum up some attention to his writing. Good or bad for PokerNews and him to cut ties?
So for starters, I do think that it is good for PokerNews when you have someone that's generating interest, getting people over there, getting clicks to the site. So that definitely had some good aspects to it, which is probably one of the reasons why, he stayed on as long as he did, and he also got there to begin with. But there's also a line where once you start saying things that the community, doesn't like to hear, that doesn't want to hear, that makes them not like you, and you're associated with that brand, it becomes a lot tougher. But here's the thing, the Marty Derbyshire issues have been a problem for a while, and I think the thing we think most about is the battle he got into with Kate Hall on Twitter, how he called Kate Hall a social justice warrior, and she made fun of some old people. I'm not sure if you remember this, but she tweeted something making fun of old people and playing poker like they weren't very good. And, Marty says like, oh, that doesn't seem in line with the social justice warrior image. Now, honestly, seems fair. It seems kind of fair. I mean, that, to be honest, like it doesn't really make sense to stick up for some issues and then not other issues. So at that point, I was kind of more on the fence, but you can't be a poker writer to a community of poker players and then be like, oh yeah, by the way, it's not a real job. It's like, it's almost demeaning. And it's like, why would you say that? Like, look, it's one thing as a journalist trying to do fair journalism, because it should be like that. But you should also not try to purposefully attack and ruffle the feathers of the people working inside that industry.
Yeah, I think he mentioned he put out a post that I'm sorry. We're at the end, I believe he apologized for absolutely fucking nothing. Wait, actually, I think that was Conor McGregor that said that. But I think he actually did say something similar to that. But, he made a post and he said he was kind of doing this for the clicks. He's doing this to get the views there. And, that makes sense. Maybe he was trying to embrace that role of that person that goes against the poker community. But at the same time, like, if you think poker's not a profession, man, what the fuck are you writing? Like, what are you writing in poker for? I'm not really sure. I feel like most of the poker writers that I know, they enjoy poker. They like poker. They love poker. They want to write about poker. They care about poker.
His exact quote to end was, I could go on about how I'm being treated unfairly. This is an overreaction. That the positive nature of the overwhelming majority of my work in poker is being ignored. And the gang-up mentality employed by many people in this case was as bad as anything I ever wrote. I will simply say goodbye and good luck. All right.
Goodbye. Good luck to Marty. I don't think we're going to be seeing the last of him.
Time will tell. Time will tell. All right, moving on to our feature story today. Australia poker looks to be a situation that is disappearing rapidly. The law is coming down on these operators, and this could be the end of Australian poker as we know it. For those of you that are not familiar with what's going on, poker has actually been illegal in Australia for operators to run to Australian residents since 2001 in an act, 15 years ago. But it never actually had the teeth to do anything about it. And essentially, Australia's finally doing something here. Now, Australia's passing a new act that's going to be voted on, I believe, in a month or so. I'm not entirely sure of the exact date. But if the act does pass, it's going to make it a lot harder. There are going to be more fines. But I believe the real teeth of the problem is that if it is illegal in Australia and they continue to operate, the UK could pull their license. So they would not be able to operate in the UK and in other countries as well. So the real backbone here is the UK. By the way, this is a bit of a complex issue. We've been looking through stuff, complex issue for sure. Is this the end of Australian poker as we know it? What do you think, Joey?
First of all, Doug, I'm already looking forward to the comments that we're going to get for this topic, that are going to have all the facts and figures for this, because I've been looking into this as well too, and I got to say, I'm pretty confused about what's happening, and I think it's very similar. You've noticed these legal issues in America, legal issues in other countries, now in Australia. It's all very confusing. It all really doesn't make a lot of sense, and it seems like from everything that I'm reading is that poker in Australia will not exist in next year at some point in time. Unsure when. Now, Australia is one of the biggest countries in terms of for people with online poker. I don't remember too many fun players being from Australia personally, but I do know that Australia is a big portion of players, and if they go down, I mean, it's just looking worse and worse for online poker as each day goes along, Doug.
It certainly is. And I actually think that the casinos, the brick and mortar casinos in Australia are playing a role here. You know, this is kind of the classic. If you look in Las Vegas, Sheldon Adelson, one of the biggest opposing people to online poker, because if you own a brick and mortar casino, you don't want people online gambling. You want them to have to come in and gamble at your establishment. You make more money that way. And I guess like the problem that I have with a lot of these different bans in different areas is it tends to come down to two things that both tilt me. First off, it comes down to who's going to make the money. And second off, it comes down to what is the right moral thing to do here, like that we think about poker or gambling in general or whatever. When in reality, the way that we should be establishing our laws is based around what it does for us as a society and what has the best net gain, rather than who's getting paid, who's not getting paid, what does Jesus want. You know what I mean? Not the case here, but you know what I'm saying. The point is, it does appear in Australia poker will not exist shortly. In general, they've been against poker for some time, but finally they're going to have something they can actually do about it.
Yeah, there's a good thread over on 2+2 and News Views Gossip. Shout out to 2+2. I believe there's a couple, pretty smart guys that are posting in there. When you mentioned the vote date, I'm not sure if there's a vote now or a vote then, but all I know is the Australian people that we know, the other poker players, they're obviously freaked out, and rightfully so. I think us in America, we went through something like this back in 2011. And I guess what would you advise some of these people that are in Australia? Because obviously now there's been these people, they've seen that go down in other countries. They've seen the segregated player pools. I mean, it's a very tough spot to be in if you're in Australia now and you're seeing that, now our country's following suit, and what are we going to do with ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Grind Nation member Allen Pav. Harista Vohe, he's in Australia, and he's actually wondering the same thing right now. What should he do? And I've been thinking about this a lot, Joey. There's actually a pretty simple solution. You move. I mean, really, like, what else can you really do in this spot? Like, if you're in Australia and you want to play, you can't be in Australia.
I know a couple options, Doug. I know a couple options, man.
Allegedly.
There's always options, right?
Shout out to Brian Hasting. But seriously, though, like, I do think that it's one more step in a negative direction for online poker,
right.
And it does seem that we get more and more bad news. There are some good Australian players that the Alex Trevs that are out there that this will hurt, and I guess it just makes me sad that the game just gets worse and worse in terms of player pool and the overall direction.
Yeah, I think that's sort of what it is. It's just, it seems like every other month or every few months, there's just always something bad out there. So I will stay tuned for that. We'll be updating you guys as things develop with that situation.
All right, we're now moving on to call or fold, which is our.
I'm excited about this. So last week we called this buy or sell, and now we decided let's get a little more poker with it, and we're gonna say call or fold. So we got 3 topics here where me and Doug are gonna decide if we're calling or if we're gonna fold. So we're gonna start off with Dan Smith charity. So King Dan Smith, last year raised money for charity where he was going to match the money. This year, he's back again. He's actually going to be on my podcast sometime over the next week or two to talk more about this. But Doug, he's trying to raise, he said he's going to match up to $175,000 in charity. Now, first of all, how much money is this guy making to be giving away $175,000 at Daily Fantasy Sports and at poker? And second of all, what are your thoughts on this situation and I guess the whole charity movement in general amongst the poker community with everything that's happening with Reg?
So for starters, this is a very large amount of money. $175,000 is really, truly quite an impressive amount. But on the other hand, it's matched. So you have to put up $175,000. Now, I'm not really one to donate to charity. Just not really, not my style. I got work to do in the world one day, maybe when down the line. But really, is he going to raise 175?
Doug,
I'm folding my hand here.
I got to tell you what, Doug. Let's start at 2. We go up to ace. Doug, I'm a 10 of diamonds right now. I am a 10 of diamonds. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. when it comes to raising $175,000, I am the 10 of diamonds. I think Hill's going to get to about. There's no, come on, stop it. He's not raising no $175,000. That seems crazy.
All right, so we're both folding here, but how much do you think he will raise?
I got to tell you, Doug, $135,000.
That's a lot.
I don't know. I feel like some company's going to come up. I feel like something's going to step up. I'd actually be very curious to see how much has already been donated, because this just seems like, how do you even come up with the number $175,000? It seems like so much money. But I want to talk about with the charity thing. Why don't you like to donate to charity? What's kind of your take on that? Because it seems like a lot of the people in poker that are, I don't quite know what group to put them in, but it seems like a lot of people are really big in the charity movement these days. They want to give back. They view this as their way to make a contribution that's positive to society. But, I'm kind of, I'm in the middle. I could go either way with things. But you seem to be one of the first people that I've talked to that actually admits they don't really donate to charity. It seems like everyone wants to be saying they're donating to charity because it makes them look some type of positive way.
Sure, and not to say that it's not positive to donate to charity. It obviously is. There are several problems I have in general with it. The first is that a lot of the charities are misrun, they're mismanaged, the money isn't spent efficiently, which obviously is bad. But the second thing, I guess, really to me is I would rather spend money, I guess, helping people that either I know, like dpyourcommunity.org, really help out the community. But I would rather make more money and then one day be able to make a larger total impact on society. And additionally, I'm not interested in it, man. Like, I guess, like, I don't need to, like, feel like I'm donating to help out certain charities to feel good about myself. Like, I'm happy with what I've done. I'm trying to make a difference in the world in my own way, just not by giving money to groups of people to decide what to do with it.
I like it, man. I like it.
All right, let's move on. All right, moving on to YouTube poker.
Ba-bang.
So, as of late, there has been quite a rise in YouTube poker. A lot of new channels popping up. Seems to be growing at a pretty fast rate. We, of course, have the vlogs going now that are booming. We've got I'm in the mix. We got Grind Nation members in the mix. We got Joey in the mix.
Jimmy!
Of course, Tonka as well, starting a channel 3 months ago, whatever. So we have a lot more people actually trying to create content on YouTube. Whereas if you look at, like, let's say a year ago, it was Poker Staples. That was it, and Alex Torelli. That was basically it.
Doug, what are you talking about right now?
As well as you, obviously.
Right, come on.
As well as you, right? I mean, seriously though, think about the landscape a year ago and what it is now today.
Okay. I agree, Doug. Listen, I think when it comes to the future of poker on YouTube, I'm an ace of spades, Doug. I'm calling. I'm all in on this situation. I think the poker on YouTube is looking bright. I think that there are a lot of new channels up there. And as you mentioned, a year ago, I feel like a year ago, it was kind of, I was doing my podcast, which I put on YouTube. I think you mentioned a Poker Staples. Obviously, you got Alex Torelli walking around an untracked Asian country, filming his stuff over there, putting out the content. And then besides that, it's just a lot of high stakes poker reruns and these poker hands sort of things on there by themselves. And I think it's great for poker. I really do. I feel like there's so many people that are on YouTube, and now it's just people. I love it. Honestly, I'm all in on the idea. I think the more people on YouTube, the better. I think the less poker video blogs, the better as well too. But that's just me. And I don't know. Doug, you calling or you folding? What are you thinking?
Oh, I'm definitely calling, and this is one of the reasons why, if you look at what I've been doing over the last 3, 4, 5 months, I still do stream on Twitch, but I've been putting way more work in on YouTube. I've been doing daily videos, etc. The thing about YouTube that I like, and don't get me wrong, Twitch has a ton of people. It's a very large platform, but YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. YouTube is huge. It's massive. So as different people in poker manage to bring in new people, bring in these new faces, casual viewers, in a variety of ways, whether that is a vlog or it's a hand analysis or it's watching a spin and go or it's seeing a pod or whatever, all of those things are good for poker because it makes people aware of poker, it gets them involved, it's actually one of the few areas for poker that I would say is getting better. YouTube is bringing new people.
Right. No, I agree, Doug. I think, honestly, I can't wait to have. I forgot to mention Ace of Spades, prettiest card in the deck, as some people out there in poker world like to say. But yeah, Doug, I'm calling. I'm all in. All right, Isildur won. Obviously, mentioned last week he's back playing high stakes. Doug, do you think it's possible in 2016 for Isildur 1 to pull off another $1 million upswing in online poker?
I am folding. Now, I know he just banged off like a 4 or 5 or 600K win, but he's lost it back already. And the thing is, there's less and less opportunities to do this. There's not as many soft players. There's not as many games. There's not as high of stakes. Now, I wouldn't say I think he's a huge dog to do it. You know, this guy always seems to come out of the woodwork at some point and win $1 million. But he hasn't done it in a while, and the ecosystem's getting worse. There's no more full tilt poker. You know, if full tilt was still a thing, absolutely, because those were some serious games. There were some serious games. And I think in that environment, sure. You know, if you're going to play 1K, 2K, 2K, 4K, you're going to play the 400, 800. You got a shot. You always have a shot. But now, the biggest game is what? 1K, 2K mix, 8 game, and even that runs somewhat rarely. I don't know. Just don't think the games are there.
Doug, I'm gonna tell you right now. Hold on. What do you think I'm gonna say right now? What do you think I'm gonna say about this one?
Okay.
What do you think I got?
I think you got the Ace of Spades.
Baby, we got the jokers. I'm all in, Doug. I'm all in. We got 2 jokers. $1 million upswing is coming this year. This maybe 2016. I'm just, listen, man. You can't say he's gonna win $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. He just went on that upswing and he can't get to $1 million. You know what? I don't know how possible it is in 2016. I think it's possible for some of the likes of a Ben Tollerine or of a Jungle Man or of a I forgot or of a Sauce 123. But I think it's happened. I got to stay positive, Doug. I think the poker world right now, too negative of a world. I'm staying positive. I think he's going to be able to make $1 million United States dollars before June of 2017. And I'm willing to bet on it. I don't know what I'm willing to bet on it, but I'm willing to bet on it, Doug.
You got some action.
All right, next, if he does it, so he's going to go on a $1 million upswing by World Series of Poker next year.
How much action you want?
The loser has to do something at the upswing poker party next year.
I'm a host. I was the host. I can't do something at the party.
No, we have to do something at the party. Some type of.
Let's work this out after.
Okay.
But
all right.
You cannot deny that it's different now. It's very different.
Of course it's different. It's kind of how things go. And now they pull out more countries. You got all this stuff. Of course, yeah. It's going to be tough, but I think Isildur 1 can do it. Honestly, if anyone can, I think it's Isildur. So we'll stay tuned for that. We'll see what happens with that.
All right.
Let's get into our final segment that we're going to name something different next week.
Here we are for the Riverboat Rundown.
The Riverboat Rundown.
Paul Fua's YouTube channel mysteriously disappears after High Stakes Poker Pro kidnapped. What happened, Joey?
Well, I really think that there may have been some truth behind the video that alleged that a High Stakes Poker Pro was kidnapped, and Paul Fua felt a little pressure from that, and he decided to take his channel down. So Jason Somerville doing a lot of great stuff. The Run It Up, taking itself up to Canada, up to Calgary. Doug, what do you think about Run It Up Calgary here?
I actually got a chance to check out Run It Up earlier this year, 6-7 months ago. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. A lot of nice people. Very fun atmosphere. I'd recommend checking it out if people have not been to it before and you like casual poker. My bankroll challenge, what's up, guys? Takes a turn for the positive. We're up to $490. Joey, how fast am I getting this done?
Doug, I got to tell you what's the difference between that tournament win and your other losses? The great game of Pot Limit Omaha, Doug. You played PLO, you won the tournament. You're winning it, man. I can't wait. It's coming soon. Doug, the new episode of my show, Can I Win $500,000 at the Great Game of Pot Limit Omaha on Bovada. New episode this Saturday. You're going to be watching?
I'm going to be watching. But can you do it? I'm not sure, man. 500K is a lot of dough. Hard to say.
500K is a lot of dough,
Dan
my friend.
Negreanu turned away in a Florida casino for not having his money there to play the tournament. Joey, how many tournaments are you able to play without having the money there?
Doug, I got to tell you what, it's unreal they turned away a guy like Dan. How did they just not let him play with it? I don't understand, Doug. He needs to be treated differently. He's Daniel Negreanu, right? We made it. We made it downstream, baby. We made it down the river.
All right. Thank you for joining us here today. We will be back next Wednesday. It's always going to be Wednesday at 11 p.m. PST, 2 p.m. EST, and 9 p.m. Central European Time. 23 Eastern Thailand time for all the people out in Thailand. All right. I made that up. That's not true. Okay. I don't think that's true. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you next week. Much love, everybody. Take care. We'll see you guys next week. Peace. If you enjoyed that episode, we're going to be back on Wednesday, 11 p.m. PST, 2 p.m. EST, and 9 p.m. Central European Time. So you can check it out live at dougpolk.tv, or you can head over to Joe Ingram 1's channel. We're going to put episode 3 up over there. We're going to put up episode 1 here. You can click on to check out if you missed it last week.